because oftentimes people, they'll take a verse really out of context. They might preach something that's biblically and theologically correct, but they lose something of the nuances and even something of the power of that passage by not understanding it within its wider context, right? So, for example, and there's tons of examples, but even like Matthew 5:16, right? Matthew 5:16 says something along the lines of let your good works shine before people that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. That's Matthew 5:16, which preaches on its own. It's very, helpful, good works accompany your profession of faith, that kind of thing. But 5:16 ought to be located within the Sermon on the Mount, right? 5-7. The Sermon on the Mount is a proclamation of the kingdom of heaven, right? In words, because it also goes along with 8 and 9. The Sermon on the Mount goes with 8 and 9 because you have a bookend, 4:23 and 9:35. The bookend puts them together. So in 8 and 9, you have the proclamation of the kingdom in deeds, right? And so in regards to the proclamation of the kingdom in words, you have in chapter 5, you've got like the priorities of the kingdom, and then in 5:16 is the mission of the kingdom. So really understanding that mission in light of, the broader idea of God's advancement of the kingdom on earth. So if you're just pulling 5:16 out, or even if you take the Beatitudes, okay, a wider section, 3-12, but understanding that the Beatitudes, again, within the wider context, it really helps you see the Beatitudes say more accurately. And again, you're understanding it, I think, much like the original audience would have when you're hearing it in context, because the original audience, they would preach from it and read from it, but when they get that scroll of Matthew, they don't and they come together as a community. Yeah. They're not like, okay, let's do the first chapter and then we'll read the next tomorrow. Like, they're doing the whole of it, right? And so I think it's important, the wider context, or as discourse analysts say, the co-text is super important for sermon understanding and for exegesis and sermon writing.
What's a co-text?
Yeah, the co-text is like discourse analysts, people who deal with like the wider context of and movements within books. Co-text is just basically another word for like the literary context. Okay. And even the literary context, I would say the textual literary context, because the literary context, you're also looking at genre, and I'm not looking at genre. So I would say like the textual literary context rather than just the literary context, which is broader. So the co-text would =, textual literary context, whereas literary context includes the textual context, but it also includes stuff like genre and some other things like that.
Well, I learned something new already. Thank you very much.